Good morning. It's Tuesday. Off to work again. Time for the Monday night recap. Well, things kicked off last night. We, as predicted, entered into the 5 years of war. The group watched as the Titans attacked and made their way through the Devil Empire, destroying them, and then systematically started picking apart everyone else. The group did a bit of moving around, trying to gain some allies, managed to retake Grom and meet back up with Sinclair, their old captain. They managed to make some allies of some dwarves, and they managed to hold a few worlds on their own. The first few years of the war seemed to go fairly well, from the Giants' perspective. They destroyed utterly the new Illithid Empire and have made their way into the Vidoni Empire, where they are encountering much stiffer resistance. They're still making headway, but not to the same extent. But at the end of year 4, something happened. The game previously has taken us in a direction where the group had been to a world called a world called Harmony in the Sphere of Rhyme. And they had encountered a cage, a magical cage, that was designed to hold back some eldritch horror. Some creature of chaos and pain, referred to as the Dissonance. And it had been imprisoned on Harmony for thousands of years. In the home of the bards. They actually abandoned their home in order to turn the place into a prison for this creature. Teowen and the others had contacted the bards earlier in the proceedings to try to gain their help in things. And they basically got told, we have a plan, we're doing something, but we'll only do it if things become dire. Now, I have a feeling at this point that Teowen and the rest of the group assumed that what they as a group thought was dire was was going to be the same thing that the bards thought was dire. It's a very common human misconception to assume that whatever you think is dire, someone else will also think is dire. As it turns out, dire for the bards was a completely different set of circumstances than dire for the group. The group was looking around thinking, well, things are going fairly okay. I mean, the Giants are winning. The other forces are slowing down their aggression. Except the Arcane. They're still pushing forward and outward and all that stuff. But yeah, they thought overall things were going fairly well. The bards looked around and saw forces of law on all sides crushing freedom out of the galaxy. The bards don't see the Titans any differently than any other force. And no amount of convincing will convince them that, oh no, they're a better law, they're just isn't going to happen. It's a bit of an ironic tangent, really, that this creature that they've imprisoned, that had come to destroy their world, is a creature of chaos, yet they imprisoned it, and yet the bards, even though they keep order, are chaotic. It's a very strange dichotomy that the bards enforce order. They work in many ways to bring about a set of rules and a set of shared conditions, which most would define as law, and yet they are, at their core belief, chaotic. They are creatures that value freedom over law. I am completely going under. If I stop recording videos at any point in this week, it's because I've drowned in my own fluids and all that stuff. Apologies. So the bards are creatures of chaos in the end. They are creatures of freedom. They saw the spheres being converted into something they could not bear. And so they did the one thing that they could do. Everyone seems to realize that law is taking over because something has happened to chaos. So they unleashed the only chaos they knew of. They don't know what happened to the rest of the forces of chaos, but they do know where this one was. And so as we entered the game last night, the bards unleashed the dissonance, and it began to spread outwards like a plague from harmony. So that is the recap of what happened. Now, I mentioned in yesterday's video that I was a bit afraid about taking some of the agency away from my players, and I'm going to be honest, I probably didn't take away as much in the end as I had originally intended to. A lot of areas that I had scripted, I ended up not using. A lot of things that I originally had planned to just skip over, I kind of let the players play through. I didn't take away as much as I had originally planned to. Because I started getting feeling from a couple players that they were getting annoyed with it, which is what I had been afraid of. Would I have rather let it play out the original way that I had intended? I don't think I'm too far off. I missed out on a couple dramatic scenes of narration, but I still managed to have a couple of shock moments through the narration. And I think it was still a good session. It ended a bit badly because we had one of our players have a power outage. But I mean, that's life. That's neither here nor there. That's not really an influence on the game, other than that we ended a bit early. It's no big deal. I do feel like the players kind of thought that they were at a loose end. They weren't really sure what they could do in this war. I don't think they quite realized that that was the intention. They were a group of 6 or 7 people. You know, they're not an army. The idea of kind of trying to gather forces together when all of the forces are basically already committed is always going to be a difficult process. there is a specific thing which Sveltenum asked Tia to do if she could, which Sveltenum believes is in their power and probably no one else's, that they completely ignored. Yeah. So I am hoping that next week they will realize that that is where they can play a part in this war. Doing the one thing that Sveltenum directly asked Tywin to do. I know my players watch these videos. I'm dropping some major hints, guys. There is one thing that Sveltenum asked you to do, and that's where you can influence this war. Have I said it enough now? Have I hinted at it enough? Have I made sure that I've repeated it a few times to make sure that... okay, good. Yeah, so that's how you influence the war. You do the one key thing that Sveltenum asked. I'm going to go ahead and end it there today. That was the Monday session recap. I'll be back tomorrow with another chat. No idea what it's going to be about yet. If you've got any suggestions, drop them in the comments or message me through whatever means you might have to do so. Like, subscribe, all that stuff, and have a great day.